Hi, I'm Leonie West from Westalee Design, and I'm going to show you how I sew a Baptist fan, which is a traditional pattern where circles or part circles go around. We stop on this point and we bring another one, and they bump into each other. And it's a pattern created just using circles normally. I like to do different things with my Baptist fans, and I do Baptist fans with a variety of spacing. I do Baptist fans where I will use a circle template or a wreath to create a Baptist fan. Many ways we can do that base structure of a Baptist fan and make it our own and make it different. I'm going to work on a 6-inch basis for my Baptist fans. And what I need is a point at 6 inches, 6 inches, 6 inches, 6 inches. And the easy way to do it was to just draw 6-inch lines. And they're spaced at 6 inches, which gives me a square. And these are my starting points for all of my circles. If I have that marked on my quilt, it makes a Baptist fan very easy. If you were working on a pieced quilt, these could be 6-inch blocks, and they could be the starting point, and you wouldn't have to mark anything. So to begin with, I've placed a pin at the corner, which is my first starting point. The stitch line here is the outer edge. That is not really in my quilting. The edge of my quilt is that drawn line. And I'm going to space the Baptist fans for this sample at 1 inch apart, which means I only need one of our templates, and it's the 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 circles on Quilt Template, and that will give me 1 inch spacing. And it will mean that my circle that comes from 12 is going to be at the mark for our starting of the next one. So what we do is put our template in place. We're going to bring our threads up. Because this is a block that's going to be sewn together in a quilt as you go, I'm going to start outside of where I need to be and allow that first, the stitches to just go over that edge. So we're going to start, our pin is located in that corner, and we're going to sew our first circle to the edge on this side. When we get to that edge, we're going to travel along the edge. And this is why I'm just going out beyond where my line is. So this will fall into the seam allowance, and therefore it won't be seen. I now need to stitch up the edge. I have to stitch 1 inch because my circles are 1 inch spaced. So I'm just going to guess that here. I'm going to bring the template back. When the template slides in, I'm in the correct position. So I'm now going to do a 3-inch circle, 4-inch circle. And we're going to go backwards, still stitching against the edge of the template, but we're going anti-clockwise instead of clockwise. When I get over to the edge over here, I'm going to stitch to that line again, stop on the line. I'm now going to move the template, stitch 1 inch up, pretty close to there. Bring the template, I'm not quite in the right position, I need to go about another stitch up. Turn the template so it's in position and go around again. And we're going all the way to the line again. I'll do this all the way out to the 12-inch circle. You can make a Baptist fan spacing your circles, as I said, at 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, change the positions, go 1/2 inch, then 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch. You also don't have to go out to the 12-inch mark. You could stop at 6 inches or 8 inches. It's what suits you and the design of your quilt. So we're going to go anti-clockwise again, going backwards. Turn the template. When we get to the end, we're going to travel up that 1 inch again. Move the template out of the way, travel up the edge, turn the template back in, come to the other side. There is one important thing with Baptist fans. If you want to work it so it's pretty close to a continuous thread, you will then want to not end here with the last circle. You want to end on this side, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if you work in pairs to get you back to that starting row, you will always end up on the right end of it. Sometimes you might choose not to have that number of circles, and you can stop here. All you need to do is break the threads, sew your threads in, and go back to the beginning. So there's no real law about where and how many positions of circles you have to have. You could build a Baptist fan using only 3 or 4 circles. You could also build a Baptist fan where the only actual circle you put in is this 12-inch outer circle. But in the middle of here, use a wreath and have a wreath that creates the pattern in here. But it still works on the same premises as the Baptist fan. So we're almost to the last one. And when we get to the end of here, what we're going to be doing is moving our locating pin. So I'm going to stop here, and we're going to be locating so that our pin is in this position here. And I will actually break my threads off to show you. You can travel up that 1 inch. You can then bring your pin in from underneath, and to show you on camera is not really great. So I'm going to break those threads, put my pin in and show you how I would do it. I prefer to have my threads cut here. This is in an outer edge, so I could actually just do a couple of over stitches to finish that off. I'm now going to put the pin so it's in on that 1/4 inch line that matches where we were down here, and the pin's going to just go in where our circle crosses over that line. One pin in. Now we're going to do what we did here, but we're going to do it 6 inches away, and we're now going to be running into here, and we're going to have to backtrack there. There is no option. You have to backtrack across there. As I've said before, backtracking is easy. It's practice. So we're going to sew our 2-inch circle again. We're going to come around and we're going to stop when we get to that stitch line. Stopping on the line, I'm now going to travel along that line, 1 inch. Now we're working on an arc, and 1 inch looks different when you're working on an arc than when you're working on a straight line. But all we do is bring the template around until it's in the correct position, and we'll go back to the left-hand side again. Stop on the line, we'll travel up the line 1 inch again. The more you travel 1 inch, the more accurate you become at guessing that 1 inch. We've moved up to the 6. When doing this, you would normally sew all of the Baptist fans going across a quilt, come back and do the next row. I'm going to finish this one for you, and then I'm going to do the next row to show you how the next row is created. A little bit further. It's very easy to move one more stitch, and if you have to go back one stitch, that's fine too. If you want, you can take our artisan half-inch circles or quarter-inch circles, and you can put a row of circles going inside the Baptist fan arcs, and that looks fabulous. You can use our spinning waves to create wave patterns that go through these circles. It is a fabulous base structure for doing lots of things. So we're going to sew up that edge again, 1 inch. Put the template back in place. I'll finish sewing this one and the next one, and then I'll show you where we start with the next row. I've done our first 2 sections of our Baptist fan. I will continue this one later, but I want to show you how to go to the next row. I've placed the pin at that 1/4 inch mark going up the edge that I put on there, and it's in line with the line running across here. I'm going to put the template on top, and we're going to do the same thing as we did before. We're going to, instead of stitching to a straight line, we're going to be stitching to the arc that we have made, our 12-inch circle that we put in there. So I'm just bringing up my bobbin threads, and it does help if you cut them off at the other end. And we're just going to do as we did before and sew our 1-inch spaced circles. I will sew that end in. I like finishing the ends of my quilts sewing the threads in. I find it looks very professional, it's neat, it's tidy. You don't know where you stop and start. So we're travelling up the edge 1 inch. Use the template as a guide, and we're going to go back. We're going back to meet the top of our circle. When we meet the top of the circle, we're going to stop on the line, move the template out of the way, and we're going to travel along that circle 1 inch again. If you did 1/2 inch space circles, you'd travel 1/2 inch. Bring the template back, and we're going to sew back to the line. Travel along our stitch line again. Template in place. Now when I did that, it's just a little bit tight, so I'm just going to bring it back 1 stitch, 1/2 a stitch. This will be the last of our arcs for this portion of our Baptist fan, and when I get to the end, again I'll sew my threads in. So I'm going to get to here and stop. Bring the threads up. So this is our first row, and we'd go all the way across the quilt as far as we need to go. When we get to the end of the quilt, we have this piece in here, and we need to finish this piece the same as our Baptist fan, even though it doesn't go all the way. So what we're going to be doing is just stitching the piece in that area. So I've put my pin in, and I'm just going to put it back under the machine. When you're at the edge, you may decide to flip the template up the other way, and that way the template is not going to catch as we turn by going underneath the fabric. So I often will flip the template upside down. Works exactly the same way. I'm not going to do the first one, number 2, because really it's not going to be showing anything. So I'm going to start at my stitch line, and that way I'll finish with my last one being on the outer edge. I could have started on the outer edge and my last one would finish in here. Either way is fine. So we've brought our threads up, and these first ones are only going to be just a small amount of stitches. I'm going to stitch past that line, which is where my quilt is going to be ending. I'm going to travel up that 1 inch space again, bring the template around until I fit into the template, and come back down to the line. Stitch across, bring the template back into position, travel out to the edge again, I'm using the edge of the foot to keep me 1/4 of an inch away from that line, and I'm going to travel up, come back 1 more stitch, travel along, and back to the outer edge. I'll just do a couple of extra stitches in that edge and be able to cut the threads off. So that is how we sew a Baptist fan. So really the components are our first corner, which is just 1/4 of a circle, bringing them out to meet the line, complete the 6 rows, and continue across. When we get to the end, we need to fill in the side. Our second row is putting that 1/4 circle in again, and just continue across, and we will work our way until the block is finished. So that's our Baptist fan finished, and really it is just repeating circles, going up in size, moving across, doing the next one. We have backtracking here, backtracking on the edges, and completing the row across that way, coming back, completing the next row, and that's how we do a Baptist fan. And remember, you can change the size of the spacings of the circles. Your Baptist fans may only come to here. You can put a wreath into here and make a Baptist fan, and then run a circle around the edge. You can also have a wreath that comes out and don't put the circle in there. So there's so much we can do using the basis of a Baptist fan.